All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Monty and Murdy College Football Show. Thank y'all for tuning in. We got an exciting Week 7 preview for you. And Monty, what's up, man?
Yeah, episode 10 of season 2 of the Monty and Murdy College Football Show. Always good to be on the show, but of course, another episode in person. That'd be 4. That'd be back to back to back to back. So it's not permanent, unfortunately, but we figured we could
Just something to work.
try to make it work for y'all and see if we were able to do it. See how the sound would work and everything. So we're excited to be back. Like I said last week on the recap episode, this next week was going to be another exciting, possibly crazy slate that we got going on, and so we'll get into that here pretty soon. But yeah, doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's a good time to be alive.
Week 7 feels a little weird. I feel like week 1 was last week.
It does feel like it's
0 even. I remember I was gearing up for that Iowa State game in Ireland, and now we're here talking about the Red River Shootout. That's why I call it Shootout, not the Rivalry, because I can't say the 3 R's that fast. But
it's really tough. But I mean, I like the way that it works out, like the RRR. I think that works really good in my mind. But Shootout, it's definitely more way to describe.
Going with the Shootout.
I'm going with the Shootout. So before we dive in,
right.
Monty's got to carry on the old traditions. There we go.
Okay.
All right. So the first matchup that we're going to break down for y'all it's for the college football sickos. It's for the guys that love.
Very important. So I don't mean to catch up, but for the sickos and for potentially a playoff spot.
This is what I would consider a playoff elimination game for these two teams. Just because
one of like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they don't have other ones later on in the season to eliminate them, but if the loser of this one, I think, may put themselves just on the outside looking in for this for a potential college football playoff spot. And it's a Friday night game. The USF Bulls are traveling to Denton, Texas, to take on the University of North Texas Mean Green.
Which, if we were to be talking about the college football playoff,
sounds crazy, right?
2-3 years ago. Yeah, well, I'll say 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, and you said, in the it's going to be an expanded playoff to 12 teams, and in 2025, South Florida and the University of North Texas are going to be fighting for a potential playoff spot. Be like, I'd probably laugh in your face, to be honest with you.
It sounds almost ridiculous.
When I say 3 years ago, because that's when Alex Golesh, South Florida's head coach, was still the offensive coordinator at Tennessee. And I thought he was never leaving. Very happy that he's doing well, obviously. So, if you were to tell me that like 3 years ago in 2022, I'd probably laugh in your face. But here we are in 2025. South Florida Bulls are traveling to, like I said, Denton, Texas, to play in Denton, Texas, at the University of North Texas. The blackout.
Game. You seen those uniforms?
I did.
Sick.
The blackout game for North Texas. For those who don't know, and of course we know this because we are
sickos.
UNT canceled classes, or at least they did up like a half day. So no classes can be held after 12 o'clock p.m. noon on Friday for this game. So for a group of 5 school, so this isn't an SEC school, it's not a Big 10 school, it's not even a Big 12 school. This is a group of 5. I believe it's the Conference USA, if I'm not mistaken, for North Texas.
I'm pretty sure. I thought they were the American.
I'll check.
I think they're the AAC.
I'm getting the two mixed up. But either way, for a group of 5 team to be canceling classes for a football game, it's a big deal. And
not a small school in North Texas, by the way.
No,
American Conference. American, Jesse.
Okay, American. But no, but not the proudest history in football.
No, we could say that.
So
there's their first 5-0 start since, I think, like I read a stat on, I think it's like 1958 or maybe 1986 or something.
Big deal for the
long time.
Big deal for the program. What say you?
Says me. Let's set the stage for y'all. All right. So this is, if you're not a USF fan, which I do know one. My dad is
Okay.
You,
I was gonna say
my dad is UNT alum, right?
There you go.
So he's big, mean green. He's been huge on this team. He's what kind of got me started, or at least started on this UNT team. I watched them last year in the bowl game that they played. But UNT's 5-0, like we said. USF 4-1, with the only loss coming to possibly one of the best teams in the country in Miami. With a big win over Florida. That if Florida continues to play better, that win looks better and better.
I was gonna say that doesn't look like a too shabby of a win.
Right?
I mean,
Yeah. After
Texas win.
After that Texas win, which we broke down for y'all last week on the
So
episode.
go check that one out. Yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't checked it out, go watch it. Man, this one's huge, right? And
Potential playoff.
playoff implications. And it's kind of crazy that we're having that in week 7 game. But let me go ahead and dive right in, right? I think Drew Mestamaker, UNT's quarterback, he's been playing at a lights out level. The kid is an absolute dynamic playmaker. They're going to tell you all about it. If you are watching this game on Friday night, they're going to tell you about it. I've counted up in all the UNT games I've watched this season. They say it about 8 times. He played 1 year as a quarterback on like the freshman B team, and then he didn't play his 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. He played like linebacker or whatever, and then ends up going to UNT and taking over for the bowl game because all their quarterbacks transferred out, and just lights it on fire. I mean, the dude's he's huge. He's like 6'5", 6'4", 220 pounds, and man, he's just a dynamic
giddy up to him too.
Yeah, he can run. Yeah, you think of that guy, you're like, oh, that's a pocket passer all day, and like, no, the dude can move. He's like a Josh Allen-esque kind of player. I'm not saying he's Josh Allen, right? Don't.
Hey, Josh Allen went to Wyoming. Group 5.
Hey, no, I'm kidding, right? But Drew Mestamaker, he is that kind of playmaker, and he is he's gonna need a huge game for UNT to be able to hang with. Would I believe? I mean, from what we've seen in the early parts of the season, is a USF team that is just an incredible, and it can hang with some of the best teams in the country, including even their game against Miami. They didn't look like they were incredibly overmatched. I mean, granted, was there a little bit of a talent deficit on the lines? Yeah. But they hung in that game.
And like you said, I mean, Miami could be contending for a national championship. So it's just like, it's going to give at some point, right? Yeah. So who are you taking?
Who am I taking?
It's a preview game. You got to pick somebody.
Preview game. Man, I've tossed this one back around. There are some question marks I have about UNT's defense here. I think USF is probably a little bit better on the defensive side of the ball. Where do I give the UNT defense with what I hope is a good crowd? I mean, their game last week, or their last game against South Alabama, crowd was not that good. Just kind of being frank, it looked like UCLA's kind of crowd. If they can get a big packed stadium in there,
I think they will. I think
they've taken the necessary steps to try to get that to happen.
I mean, if you're a UNT student and you don't go to this game after the whole school, I believe it was the president or the chairman or excuse me, chancellor, or whoever of the school sent out a mass email, was like, hey, yeah, we're canceling classes past noon. Go to the game. So if you don't, that's on you.
Well, I mean, you got to think about, in the moving world of college football, right? The revolving door, the constant expansion of the power conferences. If you can make yourself play at an elite football level you don't need to do it for a while, a couple of years right there before a merger. I mean, with UNT's enrollment, I mean, they enrolled probably about 43,000 students. Don't ask me why I know that. I just know that. So don't ask me why I know that fact, but I do know that it's about 43,000. That you have the potential to maybe set yourself up for really long-term success in the football world. So with that being said, the crowd, the blackout, I do like USF. I think USF is a more balanced team. But give me UNT to make a couple plays here, and Drew Mestamaker to make a couple plays to close this one out in a shootout kind of fashion. Probably both teams in the 30s is where I would have to put this game.
High scoring. Murdy takes the mean green.
Going with the mean green.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it to my dad, man. I just got to go with it. UNT.
Loyal to the core, like the mean green.
Mean green, baby. Give me the Eagles.
Yeah. My explanation is pretty simple. I'm taking the battle-tested football team of this year. To walk into the swamp and get a win is impressive. You see how even top teams in the country can't do it. In Texas, and USF was able to do it. And I got to ride with my guy Golish, so I'm taking South Florida Bulls in a close one. In a close one. I am I confident in my pick? No, but
I think, like I said, man, this is. If I was a betting man, I would not touch this game. Do not.
you said UNT's favorite by
UNT's
point
favorite
and a half.
point and a half. It's a
So
pick'em
that's
game.
yeah.
It's a pick'em game.
I wouldn't touch this game either.
Yeah, I would not touch this game just because, man, there's so many dynamic characters that could change. I think it's going to be one of those games. It's a Friday night. All the eyes in the country are going to be watching this game. I mean, there's going to be, it'll probably have maybe 4 million viewers on a group of 5.
As the opportunity.
American game is just going to be absolutely incredible football. So
It is a conference game too.
Yeah.
I did forget that because I thought UNT was a conference. You were saying, call myself a sicko. How dare I? But
yeah. So for all you sickos and degenerates like us, tune into this one, man. I'm excited for it. I'm going with UNT. Monty's going with USF. I don't think you can really go wrong either way. But
game 1, we already have a disagreement. Has that ever happened?
Started off with a disagreement. It's had to have.
I don't think someone could find it somewhere. I don't recall, but
yeah, it was. We disagreed on Tennessee, Alabama, last year. No, Tennessee, Georgia last year. It was the first game we started with.
Okay.
I think.
Not pick Georgia.
Yeah, you picked Georgia. I went with the.
Take that information how you will.
Wow.
But we mentioned pick'em games.
Let's get to another one.
We're getting to another one here. Yeah. So I'm gonna give the floor over mostly to Murdy on this one, but I'll set the ground. I'll let the grounds team take it. So OU versus Texas, right? The Red River Shootout, as I called it. I saw something earlier. I heard something earlier today. It said if somebody were to walk up to you at the beginning of the season and say, "Hey, by the time the Red River Shootout comes around, one team's gonna be 3-2, the other's gonna be 5-0," a lot of people would have said, "Oh, well, yeah, okay, so OU lost a couple games, and yeah, Texas doing what they're doing, they're 5-0." It's clearly not the case.
No.
This year we got OU coming into the game undefeated, 5-0, with a battle-tested resume, I'd say.
Yeah.
And then you got Texas 3-2, couple losses, but
not as battle tested.
No P4 wins.
No.
So the floor is yours.
So with that, the floor is mine. Right. So the biggest thing in this game is, I'm sure y'all know the national headlines, right? Is John Mateer going to play? And we got to come to agreement on this before we can break down this game, because John Mateer is the kind of playmaker that it can absolutely change the dynamics of the game. And it can switch this game back and forth. So are we in agreement that John Mateer is going to play in this Red River game?
My final note on this game, and I didn't write very much because I was going to let you talk mostly about it, but the final note on mine is another key: Mateer playing ? So I don't know. Is he? I mean, it seems like Vegas knows more than a lot of people because the line flipped, as we talked about off air. For those who don't know, so at the beginning of the week, Texas started as a 3.5-point favorite, and then it was like after a day, it went down to a 1.5 favorite towards Texas, and then today, October 8th, I believe.
For now,
Oklahoma is a 1.5 favorite. So there was a press conference with Brent Venables, that being the OU head coach, which I'm sure the majority of our listeners know that.
Yeah. Got some OU fans out there. Shout out, boys.
Venables talks about, he has a press conference, and of course, people are asking about Mateer, rightfully they should. And he says, well, he's not doing any good on good. And good on good means starters versus starters, basically, in practice, the good on the good. So with that being said, you'd hear that and you would think, okay, so Hawkins is probably playing. But then, and that was yesterday, I believe. And then now you got people saying like, oh, Mateer's likely to play. So to answer your question, I guess we'll say Mateer's playing, because I don't think he's going to miss this, because it's going to be his only one.
Right. So here's my biggest, me and Monty have talked about this obviously we talk ball all week. I mean, we get together on the show and
we've talked about this game basically all year. Actually,
yeah.
We talk about it all the time. But
yeah, so we talk ball all week throughout the week, and one things that we both kind of mentioned was I don't. John Mateer injured his right hand throwing thumb against the game in Auburn. He did it in the first quarter, and he ended up playing the rest of that game. OU ended up winning that game, even with John Mateer with a broken thumb on his throwing hand. OU was still able to win that football
broken
game.
thumb, bad enough to need surgery on it.
Bad enough to need surgery on it. So then he has they go ahead and have the surgery, get it repaired. I think just from me, from a perspective, right? I'm looking at it. I'm like, well, if they're going to take the time to be able to fix it, they must think that he can heal and recover in the time to play against Texas. Now I know Dr. Shin, the legend, has he's done surgeries like this
Heisman
before.
hopeful, Dr. Shin.
Heisman hopeful Dr. Shin has done surgeries like this before on Jared Goff. I don't know if I'm not too big of a pro football guy. I only really know this because I'm a college football sicko, and I did a deep dive on Dr. Shin.
And OU, you're even more of a sicko for OU.
Yeah, I'm a complete degenerate for OU, just an absolute fiend. And Jared Goff ended up playing football 12 days after his surgery with Dr. Shin. John Mateer has 17 until
still slinging the rock in the league.
Yes, was still slinging the rock. John Mateer has 17 days to be able to do it. I think he's going to play. So with that being said, let's mock up this matchup. That was tough to say. With John Mateer playing.
Yes.
So we got a Texas offense that's struggling. Struggling against whenever they play really good defenses. They could score on Sam Houston State, but they play against Florida, they play against Ohio State, they struggle. This OU defense is statistically number one in almost every category in the nation so far through the season. And they're probably the best group that Texas has seen, at least since Ohio State. Ohio State, they're also up there as far when it comes to defensive play. You can debate OU, Ohio State. For me, I'm not really going to 1-2. It doesn't really matter.
Okay, so I'll stop you right there real quick for a quick second. So you're comparing OU's defense to Ohio State's defense. That's the point right there.
That's the point.
I think you can.
The fact that you can.
Yeah.
And it's not ridiculous. Like it's who's better, and it's a legitimate question.
It's a championship caliber defense.
So whenever you have that, you have a Texas O-line that's struggling. You got an OU that's struggling to run the football. An OU team that's given up. I'd have to look at what they're giving up they're like number one in the country in rushing yards allowed, like per attempt. Like the front seven is incredibly good against the run. So Texas struggling to run the football. OU really great against the running football. And then whenever you can't run the football, OU also leads the nation in sacks. I think they're at 21, 22.
Oklahoma's defense is currently ranked number 2 nationally in total defense.
Yeah, 2 nationally total defense. So what Texas struggles to do is what OU is really good at. And man, you need a defense in this game. The 50-50 stadium split is huge. Having a defense and that can be able to take over a game like this OU one is capable of, and especially against a struggling offense. Even with OU's offense, they do have their own question marks. They haven't been able to run the ball as effective as you'd want. You saw a little bit from Jay Knott last week, finally able to maybe start making some plays. We'll see if that can carry over. But whenever it comes down to it, man, offensive side of the ball, quarterback, if John Mateer's playing, who do you trust, John Mateer or Arch Manning?
Based on the resume,
you got to go. Mateer's been there, done that. Granted, not necessarily in this environment, because this environment is completely unique. Mm-hmm. This is kind of one of the few far in between environments
and I have a point on that as well.
Yeah. And then I also look at it, this game, I've watched a lot of Red Rivers over my time, right? And a lot of times it comes down, there's going to be a special teams play that needs to happen. This OU team is incredibly good on special teams, which is kind of an afterthought whenever you think about it for most teams, unless your special teams is really bad and then you start to notice it. But they are punting the ball at an elite level. Grayson Miller was a walk on, but I mean, dude, he is just. I mean, he's incredible. I think he's got to be top 5 in like total punt yardage, like punt distance, like average yards per punt or whatever. So he's kicking the hell of the ball. Sandell, he just drilled a 55-yarder last week against Kent State that would probably been good from 65. And then you got Isaiah Santanga on punt return, and he's just a touchdown waiting to happen. I mean, every time he touches the ball, he's an electric returner.
Makers all over the field.
Playmakers, especially on the special team side of the ball, that's kind of where I'm getting at is OU is going to be able to play with the defense, and they have a punter that can flip the field and give Texas have to drive the ball against this OU defense, which I think is going to be incredibly difficult for them to do. All that being said, with OU, I gotta go with the boys, man. We got
No.
OU's taking this game.
No.
Absolutely. My pick is OU. I'm not changing it. And I said I would hold off on, and I have. I will hold off on entire talks about how good this OU team is. I was going to hold off until after Red River, and I'm still going to do that. I think they are really good, but I'm not sold on them completely. I want to see how they perform in this game. But for this game, for how this matchup lines up, I think it plays right into the hands of the Oklahoma defense and the Oklahoma special teams. And I think John Mateer is going to make just enough plays to get OU this win.
Yeah, I agree with you in that aspect. It definitely favors OU. That's why, I text you. I was in shock that Texas was favored initially. Now we see the OU's favored. My hesitation is, and I said this to you, I said it to you off air, I said it to you on air last week, kind of briefly in the recap episode. Texas's back is against the wall.
They are.
Which means Sarkisian's back is against the wall. A lot of teams would say you don't want Sarkisian's back against the wall when you play him, right?
Yeah.
So not only that, it's also Archer's back against the wall. A lot of people doubting him. A lot of people talking about him after that Florida game. So he needs to step up, and Sarkisian knows he needs to step up. And that's a very talented coach. And despite the woes, it's a very talented roster Texas has. So my keys to the game for Texas: can the O-line slow down the OU defense? We'll talk about pass rush first. Do I think so? No, probably not. And they obviously struggled to run the ball this year. So there's my other concern for Texas, right? And I think that's going to be the key to this game is the line of scrimmage.
If Texas can run the ball. If they're able to run the ball, it's going to open up.
Control line of scrimmage in general.
Yeah.
Whether it be controlling the pass rush or controlling the defense when they're trying to run the ball. And that's my biggest concern for Texas. We talked about Mateer playing. I think we kind of went with him playing. But one thing I wanted to note, and I said I had a point on this, people forget, yes, it wasn't the best game for OU last year, obviously. But you talked about the Red River Shootout being a very unique environment. It's the Texas State Fair. It's the half and half field. It's a unique environment in its own right. People forget that Michael Hawkins started in a Red River Shootout, and he didn't have the weapons around him that he would have this game.
Yep.
So even if he does start, he knows what this environment is. He's been in this environment. He has a better O-line. He's got the weapons around him. He's got the defense to complement him. So I'm not all that worried if he starts either. Now, yes, he didn't look the greatest. Well, granted, they beat Kent State 44-0.
Still didn't look great,
but you saw his pocket presence. He was throwing off balance. He was jumping and throwing at the same time. He looked
a bunch of sidearm stuff.
He looked moral, especially compared to Mateer. And we see John Mateer's
cool, calm, collected
in every game, right?
So
obviously, if Mateer starts, it's for a lot of people a no-brainer to pick OU. But I'm saying even if Michael Hawkins does start, he's got the Red River experience. He knows what it is. He knows what it means to OU. He's a true sophomore.
Yep.
Yeah. And he's already he's already started in this game as a true freshman, right? And if Mateer plays right, this is his one and done Red River. So with all that being said, the only reason why I say so, I'm taking OU to win this game. But I'll say this: I'm reluctantly taking OU only because I know Sarkisian's back is against the wall, and I don't know what he has up his sleeves. But OU.
I think the psych advantage, right? That's you always want to come into this game and figure out if you got some kind of edge that you can play to. And a big thing for me is this is the first year that Brent Venables is calling the defense. If I have an inexperienced quarterback like Arch, who has been struggling, the last thing I really want him to play against is a Brent Venables defense. Where Brent Venables is
the
called,
play caller,
yeah, who is the play caller? Like, it is, I'm going to be frank, it's hell. It's hell to play against.
The script has definitely flipped from last year to this year.
Right. And it's, he's going to bring all kinds of stuff that Arch hasn't seen, all kinds of blitzes and, different schemes, package drops. And, I think OU, they're definitely going to do some stuff to kind of confuse Arch. And I think they have the personnel, especially with them being in year 4 Brent Venables defense. They have the ability and the mindset with all those players to be able to accomplish those things at a really high level. And when I think about that, and then you also think about it, Texas beat OU. It's like, yeah, Texas is coming in with their backs against the wall. Texas also beat OU 34-3 in this game last year. And I don't think anybody on that OU team has forgot about that.
It's circled on the calendar.
That's been circled on the calendar since last year. So there's also a psych advantage that you got to consider for OU at play. But both of us going with OU in this one, we're really excited to watch it, as it's always a fantastic game.
And I'll say one more thing, then we'll move on.
Yeah.
The only other thing I had on this game was that that I wanted to add to, even if Michael Hawkins starts. I'm saying either or, whoever starts at quarterback, it's also very possible that OU shuts out this Texas team completely. Like, no,
I had seen that. I'd seen him talk about it.
It's very possible. Like, it's in the cards. There is a world where OU shuts out Texas, and then you don't need Michael Hawkins to go play hero ball at all. You don't need anybody to. You can win 13-0, 17-0, and that's all it takes. And I would trust this OU defense over most teams in general, but definitely over this Texas team. So, with that being said, we both taking OU. So I got USF, you got North Texas, both taking OU. We'll let the fans watch. We'll certainly be watching the Red River Shootout come Saturday. But now on to another game that is not as big of a deal to fans, but
probably a bigger matchup as far as SEC teams.
Yeah, but yeah, I was going to say as important of a matchup as OU Texas.
Yeah.
Alabama travels to a well-rested and talented Missouri team in Columbia, Missouri. Can Bama slow the Mizzou run game down? That's my big question. You have a top 5 rusher in Ahmad Hardy.
Yep.
At Mizzou. Like I said, Mizzou's well rested. They just had a bye. My dogs are playing with the bone downstairs. Sorry. But in that game that they had 2 weeks ago, they rushed for 292 yards as a team, right? So Can Bama slow down the run game? We saw them kind of shut down in the second half, shut down Vandy in that aspect. My only thing is, man, if Mizzou can control the run game and keep Ty Simpson off the field, I think that's a big key to this game too. But I also said, can Mizzou slow down the inevitable in Ty Simpson?
Yeah.
Right? It seems inevitable outside of the Florida State game, and that was week 1. It's like he's averaging over 300 yards a game. So I feel like Mizzou has to go into this game knowing that Ty Simpson's going to find open guys.
Mm-hmm.
Can they keep him off the field? Can they keep his weapons off the field? The good side to Mizzou in that is that they love to run the ball. What takes time off the clock? Keeping the ball in bounds, running the ball, right? So that's the most intriguing thing for me. Another thing is again, I mentioned it now twice. I'll say it again. Missouri's coming off a bye. So they had 2 weeks to prepare for this Alabama team. So they got good tape on this Alabama team. They know what's coming. It's a sold out game. But I just think it comes down to the same thing as that Bama Vandy game that we talked about. Like, I'm just worried about Bama's weapons. Like, especially on the offensive side. Just the weapons is what I'm concerned about. So if Bama plays all 3 facets of the game really well, the inevitable happens. the talent out talents Mizzou,
Yep.
and they go into a hostile environment like they did against Georgia, it'll be tough to beat this Bama team. And I just don't see a world where, based on how they're playing right now, I don't see how anyone's slowing this train. I am taking Alabama to win this game.
Yeah. My question is, whenever I think about this Missouri team, right? They're 5-0, number 14 in the country. Why are they ranked behind a 4-1 Alabama?
Well,
It's because of their schedule. They haven't beaten anybody. What we thought was going to be a really good team in South Carolina has not kind of been up to par.
I was going to say, at least not lived up to the expectations.
Has not lived up
As
to
of
the
right now.
expectations.
It is October, of course, but
Right.
we'll see if that happens.
October. I forgot about that. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's like, they got a win over Kansas, where Kansas was up on them early. Missouri was able to rally.
It was almost like Kansas was going to run away with that game too.
That's what it looked like.
And then Mizzou turned it around.
And they squeezed out one against the South Carolina team that's kind of been struggling.
That Vanderbilt put B2A too.
Yeah. And so that's why, right? That's why is this Missouri team ranked behind Alabama, even though they're 5-0 and undefeated? Well, the question is it's who you've played, and that's whatever I get down to. It is this Bama teams. They've been in the gauntlet already this year. They got their gut checked early against Florida State. They fought hard for a win against Georgia.
Yeah.
And
in Athens.
Yeah, in Athens, in a hostile environment.
Sold out.
And I think Kalen DeBoer is going to come in with his black hoodie of death and
Black Air Force Ones.
Yeah, his black Air Force Ones, and he's gonna drape Missouri in that black hoodie of death and choke them out. Now Missouri, they are they're just incredible running the football. They're balanced with Bo Prabula. He's been fantastic this season, and
that's another aspect of the game too. I want to see from Mizzou if they want to win this game is Prabula's feet too.
Yeah,
he's a talented passer.
He's a great runner. He's shown it at Penn State. And just by the way, did Penn State keep the wrong quarterback? Just putting it out there. Either way,
something to think about.
Just something to think about, right? Yeah. So it's just, man, I just can't get myself to trust this Missouri team just because I haven't seen them do it against the level of competition that I've seen from Alabama.
And I guess that's what I was getting at, right? It's like, until I see it, it's like, we've seen it from Bama. We haven't seen it from Mizzou. My opinion can totally change on this Mizzou team if they do pull this one out, right? We can then know that, okay, this Mizzou team's probably got some juice behind them, right? But until then, seeing what Bama's doing, seeing what Ty Simpson's doing, seeing what their talent's doing, and their defense is clicking, and I'm not taking anything away from Missouri, but it's kind of that.
Who have you done it against, right?
I want to see it, right? So
it's like, yeah, it's looked good. It's looked great. It's looked fantastic for Missouri. But who have you done it against? If you want to be considered in the college football playoff talks, these are the kind of games you have to win.
Go win this one.
You got to go win this one if you're Missouri. And I just don't see a world where Missouri is going to be able to run the ball as effectively as they have throughout the year. Right? I'm not saying that they're going to be completely ineffective. They are a very strong running football team. They have actually a really good O-line. It's able to get a lot of movement, but I just don't think they're going to be able to do it at that level against this Alabama team that has, to a point, outside of Florida State, they've really kind of suffocated teams that really like to run the football, like key example, Georgia.
Yep.
So, yeah, I got to go with Bama this one. They have more that I can trust in. I've seen them do it against level of competition, and I've seen this team already travel on the road and get that kind of win. So I'm leaning on Bama to do it again here.
All righty, so there you go. We're both taking Bama as well. So we're agreeing on two, disagreeing on one. The biggest game of the weekend we're disagreeing on. All jokes aside, so all right, so the next game is Ohio State going to Champaign, Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini. I'll let you start this one off. What say you?
Man, I don't really have much for this one. Ohio State is continuing to play it just to I mean, they've been at a really efficient level. There's not really much you can say. Julian saying he's playing good. I mentioned last week. I'm not saying it hasn't looked like the Ryan Day quarterbacks of the past. I'm not going to try to beat that horse, but he's a freshman, right? Let him come into it. The Ohio State defense is playing at an insanely good clip. I mean, they are just absolutely dominant on that side of the ball. So they're not asking Julian saying to go out there and do much. They can,
Similar to what we said last week about Marcel Reed and A&M.
yeah, you don't
Doesn't need to do a whole lot right now.
Doesn't need to do a whole lot right now. Just can go win the games you're supposed to. And after we saw what Indiana did to this Illinois team, man, you're just not gonna. I mean, Illinois could go win this game, and then they be matched up again next week, and I still might pick Ohio State to win, right? You know, because it's
kind of like that 9 out of 10 times I'm taking Ohio State.
Right, 9 out of 10 times I'm taking Ohio State here, and I just think they're just going to continue to roll. I think they're really good. And now, granted, Brett Bielema, Luke Altmaier, Illinois, they got some grit to them. They got some fight. They showed a bounce back game.
Veteran roster too.
To being able to go win against USC, but I think USC is not on defense what this Ohio State team is, and I think that's really where I'm just going to hang my hat. Is I think Ohio State's offense is going to be able to score some points. I don't think Julian Sain's going to play them out of this game. I think he's going to continue to do what he's doing. He's just been efficient with the football, playing safe with the football, protecting it, and let the Ohio State defense just go and pretty much choke them out.
Yeah. So same thing. I didn't really have a whole lot for this game.
No, me neither.
Because okay, so you got the current best team in the country, right?
Right.
So if I'm going off my genuine beliefs and philosophy behind college football and my rankings, right? What I say at the
national championship is number one
until they prove otherwise, until they lose a game, until they prove otherwise,
and they haven't proved otherwise.
Especially, to me, especially not. Current best team in the country. We talked about it a little bit off air. Just seeing like there are obviously holes in the Illinois team, right? We saw it against Indiana, and not to keep harping on that game because Illinois fans I'm sure would love to forget about that one. They turn around, beat a pretty good USC team, but even in that USC game, like there's still holes. Like you're still giving up 30 points a game in that game. You gave up 60 prior, so we see the holes. Excuse me. We see the holes in Illinois, and there's just no holes in Ohio State's team on any side of the ball, offense, defense, special team. Like there's just not. So, like, who am I to pick against them?
Right.
And until they prove otherwise. Kind of similar to what we talked about in the Bama Mizzou matchup. There's just nothing there for me to be like, well, I could see Illinois.
I can hang my hat on this. There's not an advantage I can see that Illinois has in this game to where I can hang my hat on. It's like, well, I at least know that they're going to do this. Because, I mean, as much as it might pain Illinois fans to hear, I can't get that Indiana game out of my head, right? Because I watched the USC Illinois game, and some of the issues that flared up against Indiana were still present against USC. USC just has some of their own issues that that Lincoln Riley teams always have. I'm not going to get down the rabbit hole. It's a hate watch for me, but yeah, it's just some of the issues that USC had is what showed out to me.
And again, right? So they do that against Illinois, does that against Indiana, right? And Indiana has not a huge margin, but a less talented team than Ohio State, right? USC is less talented than Indiana. Okay, so if you basically look at those three teams, right? They beat USC, but like I said, they have their own issues. Indiana seems to be unstoppable right now as well, outside of Iowa. But then you have an even further talented Ohio State team. Like there's just nothing that I can say that can convince me that Illinois is going to have a whole lot of opportunity to go score in this game. And plus on the Ohio State side, they already just went on the road to a good Washington team and took care of business. So they're already tried on the road as well. And here's another game that they got to go closer to home.
Yep.
Less travel time. I don't believe there's a time difference for them here. This is just another game on the schedule for Ohio State. And obviously, I'm taking Ohio State to win this game and cover.
Yep. Take them, put them in the grinder. Same old for Ohio State. That's kind of what I'm expecting this week. We'll be sure to break it down for y'all next week after the recap. See if we were right, see if we were wrong. So both going with Ohio State there. We're staying in the Big Ten for this one.
We are. And so I said that I wasn't going to keep talking about this team in the last matchup, but now we're going to talk about this team in this matchup. Indiana at Oregon.
Number 3 versus number 7.
This game's interesting.
AP poll, just, fraudulent poll, but it's what we got right now.
Interesting game to me nonetheless, because it does seem like Indiana might be a little bit more capable than the last year's team, which is crazy to say, right? Because they made the playoff.
Right.
But it just seems like, and a lot of it does come off that Illinois game. Illinois had high expectations and still could be pretty good this year. But this Indiana team does feel different.
They do.
Than last year. Sig's got, and this is crazy to say also because of last year, but Sig feels like he's got a little bit more swagger to him now.
Another year with his boys, man.
Another year with his boys, and he's 2 for 2 on transfer quarterbacks.
Fernando Mendoza is playing at a higher clip than his quarterback. Always escapes my name. His quarterback from last year always escapes my name, or his name always escapes me.
Oh yeah, me too.
You're gonna yeah. Either way, Fernando Mendoza is playing at an incredibly elite level. Him and Dante Moore actually have really comparative stats so far through this season. Fernando Mendoza is 1,200.
Curtis Rourke.
Curtis Rourke. I knew it's a CR. For some reason, I always want to go to Riley, and I don't know why.
Curtis with a K.
Yeah. Curtis Rourke. Fernando Mendoza's outplaying him, at least this year.
So they're higher in the Heisman candidacy right now than Curtis Rourke was.
Yeah, and Fernando Mendoza, 1,208 yards, 89 for 122, 16 touchdowns, 1 interception. On the other side, Dante Moore waited his time. He is 1,210 yards, so he's got 2 more yards. He's 100 out of 134 passing, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. We've already seen both of these quarterbacks perform in really big games.
And perform well.
Dante Moore went on the road, won in Happy Valley at a whiteout night game. Unfazed, which that game, they took Penn State out of it, but that's a different conversation. We're not going to continue to beat on you, Penn State. You do that enough of that yourself. But Fernando Mendoza, man, Oregon is favored by 7.5 in this one. And it's tough for me to pick against Dan Lanning at home. Indiana having to go to Oregon to play this one, but 7.5 seems like a lot for this one. I think Indiana is much improved from last season. I think Oregon is quite comparable to what they were last year. They may be slightly better than what they were last year, but they weren't. Oregon wasn't a bad team last year, right? They were
the only undefeated team in the regular season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They weren't a bad team last year.
They just so happened to run into the buzzsaw that was Ohio State
at the end of the year, right? A pissed off Ohio State after Michigan beat them.
Yeah, that'll do it to them.
That's what. So, it's but whenever I consider it, right, it's like, who do you think has the better resume so far to this point, Indiana or Oregon? I saw what Iowa did to Indiana, right? They put them in a blender, put them in a bar fight. Indiana still went out of there with a win, 20-15. However, I think this Oregon defense is just as good as probably that Iowa defense, probably better.
See, my argument though is I genuinely believe that if Oregon were to go into
Iowa, they'd put them in
Iowa City, I think that game would look fairly similar to that Indiana-Iowa game. I would say that game would probably go 27-15 Oregon compared to the 2015 Indiana win. But yeah, I think that anybody that has to play Iowa knows that they're going to get smacked in the mouth by that defense.
Yeah.
So
they're going to put you in a bar.
Yeah. Be like, we're fighting. They're going to close.
We're going to close the door, lock it, and say,
"You ain't leaving until you beat me."
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, granted, Iowa has left beaten quite a few times this year, but they're there.
Yeah. For me, I mean, yeah, I'm just going to read my note. This game in particular, I'm just going to read my notes
Go ahead.
down the line. So I think the game being in Eugene is the difference here. I think this game's going to be closer than a lot of people think.
I do not.
People see.
I like Indiana to cover.
So I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I think they see the Oregon logo and then versus the Indiana logo, right? People still aren't used to that Indiana. Sickos like us, where it doesn't really matter about the logo, it matters about the production, right? But a lot of people going into this game be like, well, it's Indiana, and they're going to Oregon and it's Oregon.
Why are we even talking about it?
Right. So I think it's gonna be a lot closer than people think. I agree with you that 7.5 is a bigger spread than it probably should be. So I mean, I think that this game, it'll show that Indiana in a loss is actually legit this year in comparison to last year, more so. I think the Dante Moore Heisman campaign continues as the DeCorian Moore camp continues to shine at the receiver position. I also believe that the Fernando Mendoza Heisman campaign will also continue just in the shadow of Dante Moore.
So you're expecting a good game from both.
So I'm taking Oregon, and like you said, I'm taking Oregon, and I'm taking Indiana to cover that 7.5 spread. So I think it's going to be within that 7.5 point spread. I think Oregon takes it. I think Eugene is the difference because that place, even though smaller than, that a lot of those SEC stadiums, some of the Big Ten stadiums, it's considered one of the loudest places in the country still to play. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll be able to confirm here, if I go to this week 7 slate, this game is not at night. So,
nope,
it's not going to be as hostile, but I still think that 2:30 Central Time start is, well, I mean, I guess it's a 12:30 start.
They're going to show up.
They better hope so, because I was banking on that. We'll see, man. It'll be a close game. I think Indiana's a lot better than last year, but I am still taking Oregon with Indiana to cover. So I think you agree with me on that one as well.
I agree with you on that one. I think Oregon at home. If this game was in Indiana and like Indiana at night,
I'd probably take the upset.
Yeah, I think I would. I think I'd take Indiana to maybe pull that one out. Just Oregon is. These are two very emotional head coaches. I don't really think we kind of touch on that, but these are two probably the most, I don't know, spoken coaches, like kind of hard on your sleeve coaches.
Emotionally connected to the football player, I think also.
Yeah. So, I mean, these are two.
Would go and strap it up.
Would go to war. Yeah, absolutely. Like Kurt Signetti, he might not he might not have the physical appearance that, Dan Lanning does, but Kurt Signetti would go in there and play some fullback. He'd strap it up and, he'd go hit somebody. Now he might get blown up, but he'd go hit somebody. He's kind of one of those sickos, so you gotta respect that. Like I said, I think this game is going to be a game that Indiana loses, but that doesn't mean I think any less of this Indiana team. I think
they're going to show people in a loss that they're still there.
They are still there, and they are still an absolute respectable college football playoff team. At least contender for it. I'm not saying they're a lock, but contender for it.
Man, look at us. We started off not that strong, disagreeing with each other, and we're agreeing on
a couple, right? So let's get to this one. I think we disagree here. Another Big Ten matchup: Michigan versus USC. Michigan, defensive-led team, really strong on the defense side of the ball. Dynamic, young quarterback Bryce Underwood. USC, true freshman. USC, Jaden Mayaba, coached by Lincoln Riley, offensive-led team, going to be able to score some points. However, I've watched a lot of Lincoln Riley coach football teams, and this one has all the same issues that Lincoln Riley has had in the past, and he struggles in matchups like this one where you're not going to be able to score as many points as what you normally would, right? Lincoln Riley teams, I was used to watching OU win football games, 48 to 38, and it's like, oh, what a win, but it's, that's not the kind of game that you're going to get into with Michigan. Michigan, you got to be able to beat them up front. You got to be able to move that defense off the ball. And that's one of the things that I just don't know if USC is going to be able to do that at a successful enough clip to be able to continuously score points the way that Lincoln Riley likes to. He builds it off the run game. It's kind of like that RPO game. Well, if they know that you're not able to run the ball, guess what? RPO doesn't mean that much because it's basically pass only. You take the R out of it, you got pass. So that's kind of my hurdle for this game. I think USC needs to air it out. I think they would benefit greatly from a couple of early strikes, long deep balls, Jaden Maaba scoring from far, to be able to open up and get this Michigan secondary and Michigan basically front seven, try to get them into more of a 4-2-5 nickel front, something to lighten up that box and allow USC to be able to run the football.
Start respecting the pass.
Exactly. Yeah. I think that would be absolutely huge for this game. Bryce Underwood, he doesn't need to play. He doesn't need to play. He doesn't need to throw for 300. I think they would benefit greatly if he's able to continue what he kind of built as far as running the ball, like a little quarterback run game. He's shown that in a couple of games. He didn't show it early on in the season. They were very reluctant to run him. But since they've started doing that, it's really kind of opened up that Michigan offense. So I think if Bryce Underwood's going to be able to get some success running the football, Michigan can get some success running the football. I think he can make enough plays with his arm that the Michigan defense is going to be able to play him into a win here.
They're taking Michigan.
Taking Michigan.
Gotcha. So yeah, so I mean, okay. So here's my thing, right? So you kind of asked the same question. So I have, can Jaden Maaba, can he air the ball out over this Michigan defense, right? So Michigan's rush defense is number 7 in the country, and then their total defense is 18th, right? So you got a top 20 defense in Michigan, and you're asking Jaden Maaba to air the ball out over this defense, right? So my thing is, okay, so that is an issue. That's an obstacle that you have to overcome, right? I am not obviously through and through OU fan, but I have watched plenty of Lincoln Riley coached games as well.
Yep.
Both at at OU, at USC. So I just think that air raid offense is going to find, and they're going to poke holes in the Michigan defense at some point in the game. If they do it early, then I think Michigan's in a lot of trouble. If they do it late, then it's probably going to be a closer game. Another question, can USC keep the game low scoring on the defensive side if Mayava can't do what he's been doing this whole year? USC does. So Lincoln Riley basically fired his whole defensive staff from last year, brought in a brand new staff. Seems like it's been working up until recently.
They have been playing better. It's an improvement from last year.
It's definitely an improvement, and I guess.
But your first year on a defensive staff, like it's for those of y'all that haven't seen it play out. Defensive staffs aren't able to turn it around as quickly as offensive staffs. I think offensive staffs have a little bit easier time scheming up personnel and stuff. Just because on the defense side of the ball, you got to be able to get your players to know your scheme, know their role in their scheme, and they also have to know their buddy's role. Whereas the offense, I really just got to know what I'm doing, more or less. It's hey, I got this route on this play, whatever. Defense, hey, I got to know where my help is. I got to know where my coverage is. So there's a little bit bigger of a learning curve there for a defense, and it kind of takes a little bit more time for them to be able to kind of turn it around there.
Right. So then that's my thing, right? So I think that this air raid offense is going to be able to find holes in this Michigan defense. When in the game, I don't know, but I think that's kind of one of those inevitable things than when it comes to a Lincoln Riley offense.
Yep.
So if it comes down to a Bryce Underwood versus Jaden Mayava shootout, I'm going to trust Mayava over Underwood. Now, The only other thing is, can Michigan's offense keep USC's offense off the field? Very good run offense. Bryce Underwood can throw the ball, but he can also run the ball. He's a very large human, as we all know, but he can also run the ball. They have very talented running backs. They have a very good O-line, at least a better O-line than USC, right? So I would trust their O-line to run the ball over USC's. The only issue is I trust USC's air raid over Michigan's. I think that with USC's elite offense in the air and their good defense, I would take that over Michigan's good offense and their great defense. So I'm taking USC to win this game. But like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan wins this game. This is another one of those games, betting wise, I would stay away from. But yeah, I think there's two lanes to go. It's, can Michigan's offense keep USC's offense off the field, and can USC's offense control the ball enough, long enough, and early enough, and sustain it throughout the game? And I think they do. And so I'm taking USC to win this game.
I respect it. It's just, like I said, ESPN, at least the matchup predictor,
and it doesn't sound like much, but it's also in the Coliseum, so
it is. More people show up there for USC than they do UCLA or the Rose Bowl, whatever that area. USC has a lot more back. Yeah,
I was gonna say, if you're talking about the USC versus UCLA game, just not a ton of people show up. But
yeah, no. But what I'm saying is, like, USC and UCLA, like, they share that kind of area. USC's definitely got a much bigger backing that's going to show up for them in this game. And yeah, like I said, it's if Michigan is able to run the ball effectively and keep Lincoln Riley and limit his opportunities to score the ball.
That's what I was getting.
Yeah, limit his opportunities, right? Because that's how he loses
possession games. Is Michigan's
best friend. Yeah,
this game.
Time of possession. Let Bryce Underwood run it if you have to. But I mean, Justice Haynes has played incredible for him this year. If he's not able to run the ball, get Bryce Underwood to run it, and just keep the ball out of Lincoln Riley's hands, and keep your defense rested, and allow them to go head up against that USC offense. So we'll see what happens. You're going with USC. I'm going with Michigan. USC is a 2.5-point favorite in that game. And
I'm taking the favorite.
And we got one more game. Kind of surprising line here, at least for me. Going back to the SEC, we're going to close the show out with the game in the SEC. Georgia at Auburn. Georgia is a 3.5-point favorite on the road, which for me,
the oldest rivalry in the South. Fun fact.
Sorry.
That's all.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So the matchup predictor likes Georgia 64.5 to Auburn's 35.5. For me, this one, it really boils down to is Auburn, are they going to be able to fix their offensive woes in the bye week, right? We've seen Georgia, they've been able to score the ball. Defense may be a little more question mark as opposed to what it's been in past years for Georgia. But they've been pretty effective scoring the ball, even against, Alabama. They scored the ball a lot against Tennessee. For what we've seen for Georgia, they've been able to score the ball. Gunnar Stockton is kind of rounding into form, and we haven't seen that from Auburn yet. When they've played the tough matchup,
not in the air.
Yeah. When they played the tough matchups, the Auburn, against A&M, against Oklahoma, Auburn's just not able to move the ball and score the ball effectively. And the question is whether or not they're going to be able to fix that. Hugh Freeze is an offensive coach. If he's going to be able to fix that coming out of the bye week and get Auburn a much-needed bounce-back win if they're going to remain competitive in the SEC.
Yeah, I think this one is it's an easier recipe if it goes the way that these teams want it to go. So if both defenses make the other quarterback, if they force the quarterback to throw the ball, I think that this is a pretty simple decision who to go with, who's going to come out on top. Gunnar Stockton needs to be able to throw the ball like he did against Tennessee. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? That kind of goes without saying.
You'd like that every week, right?
Right. Well, I wouldn't personally.
No, I was saying, I'm saying if you're a Georgia fan.
No, I'm just kidding. Yes, of course, you'd want that from your quarterback every week, which for Bama, right? That's kind of what's happened after the Florida State game.
Yeah.
From Gunnar Stockton, you need to see that again like he did against Tennessee, right? Georgia's run defense needs to be able to hold up against a very good Auburn run game. They run the ball a lot with Jackson Arnold. They have a good O-line. They like to run the ball, obviously, and that's what they say. At the beginning of the year, after week 1, they were like, is this sustainable for Jackson Arnold? Because he basically put his own body in a blender and was just like, abuse me. Like, he was just running the ball, hitting hard.
This is NCAA. Like, he's coming off the bye, so, he got a little rest there, but he'd be all red.
Yeah. I mean, and after the video game, where they get the whole body's red.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can Georgia's run D hold up against, the run game in Auburn? And yeah, so it goes back, like I said, so can they force Jackson Arnold to throw the ball? Make him throw it, get him in third and deep, even second and long, third and long. Third and long is key because you're going to force Auburn to throw the ball. They have the weapons outside. Auburn does, but we just haven't seen Jackson Arnold really air the ball out because I don't think Hugh Freeze fully trusts him to do that. And he's a very good runner. So they're like, well, we'll just win games this way. But if Georgia can stonewall that run game, I think it'll cause a lot more issues for Auburn. Then on the flip side, Auburn stopping the Georgia run game and forcing Gunnar Stockton to throw the ball. Because that's what Tennessee did. They forced Gunnar Stockton to throw the ball, and that's what he did. And they ended up scoring 44 points in an overtime win. So I think the keys to the game for Auburn is can they control the line of scrimmage?
Right.
Keep it low scoring and close like they did the Oklahoma game. Granted, yes, Oklahoma pulled that one out, but you had I would argue, and I'm sure you would too, Mateer's probably a better playmaker than Gunnar Stockton is. Nothing against Gunnar Stockton, that obviously a very good playmaker when he needs to be. But I just think if they keep it that low scoring, close game at the end, they'll definitely have a chance to pull away with this one.
Well, man, both their losses, they've kept it that way.
Right. So can they come out on top in one of those is what I'm saying. And you see how close they are in those. Hence why I'm still taking Georgia to win this game.
We're this close.
So, yeah, I think the key to this game overall is Gunnar Stockton.
See, for me, whenever I'm thinking about this, right? I gotta play these games out in my head. I don't have a fancy football sim where I run 1,000 simulations of this game and I go through and that's how I make my picks. I'm like, yeah, this is what the system's saying. I don't do that. So I got to play them through in my head, right? Kind of old school. And the scenario I see playing out is Auburn keeping a tight football game at home, knowing that their season's kind of on the line here. You go to a 3-loss this early on with the remaining schedule they have, really tough to be able to, put yourself in the playoff, which, I mean, in the college football world that we play in now, nobody cares about bowl games. At that point, you're playing for the transfer portal and to keep your recruiting class. Let's just call it what it is, right? If you're not in the playoff, nobody really cares. So when I look at this Auburn team, right, I think they're going to be able to play a fourth quarter close game. Now, whenever I look at a fourth quarter close game between these two, I've seen Gunnar Stockton go, lead game-winning drives. He did it whenever he came in for Carson Beck last year, led a game-winning drive. What is that? Is that the SEC championship he did that?
That's
yeah, against Texas. And then I also saw him do it against Tennessee. I've seen him do it. Arnold has had 2 opportunities at game-winning drives, both against Oklahoma and against A&M. And in both times, I watched him go down with the ball in his hand. Sacks, finished the game. OU finished it with a safety. A&M finished it, I think, just with normal sacks, whatever, on 4th down. So whenever I look at that, right, I'm like, at some point, I got to, I just got to go with, hey, if Jackson Arnold proves me wrong, he's able to win a fourth quarter game-winning drive to seal this win for Auburn. Hey, now I'm going to believe it. I've seen it. I've seen you do it. I know you can do it. Cool. Until that point, I just got to go with the guy that I've seen be able to do it, and I've seen be able to pull off those kind of close fourth quarter games. So that's why I got to go with Georgia here. Got to go with Gunnar Stockton. I think I just got a little bit more trust in what they're going to be able to do in a late fourth quarter kind of game here possibly against Auburn.
So we agree that the key of the game is the quarterback, and I think that's what's going to end up separating this is Gunnar Stockton over Jackson Arnold if it comes down to both
game-winning drives, right? I think Auburn's going to be able to keep this one close. I think their defense is playing at a very good clip. I think they may be able to have some success running the ball, but do I think Auburn's going to be able to bring Georgia in here and just blow them out to where we got a multi-score game in the fourth quarter? I don't. And if we got a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, I just got to rely on Gunnar Stockton, at least from the sample size that I have between him and Jackson Arnold at this point.
Well, there you have it, folks. 7 games we talked about, 7 games down.
We disagree on 2.
5-2. So we'll see who comes out on top next week in the recap episode. I'll let you take us out because you're normally the one that does it. But yeah, it's going to be a good slate, though.
It's going to be a great slate. Going to be a great slate.
And we didn't even talk about Tennessee, Arkansas, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, you'll be there in person for that one. So.
Yes, that's mainly why I didn't feel like the need because I will be there.
We'll be sure to give you a good recap on that one if Bobby Petrino fires up that Harley and gets a win in Knoxville, baby. So with that, we're going to close out the show. Man, thank y'all for tuning in. as always, like, subscribe to the show, tell your buddies about it, tell your wives to mention it in their Bible studies or, book groups or whatever they're into. Put the word out, tell your friends. As always, we appreciate y'all for listening, appreciate y'all for tuning in, and we will catch y'all next week on the Monty and Murdy College Football Show. Until then, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the slate. Peace.